your hardcore Brexiter, the person who probably thinks Boris Johnson is doing a great job on coronavirus, is going to try and portray Barnier here as having some sort of hissy fit. He is simply describing frustration at the fact that not only has there been no progress on the major points of negotiation, but also, as everybody knows, this again is reality. Boris Johnson put himself in handcuffs in December. With the general election result, the political declaration makes promises to the European Union that would break promises he made to British people. That has always been clear. So expect, if you are in the sort of darker corners of social media today, expect to see an awful lot of people pretending that they understand what World Trade Organization rules mean and that they welcome them. And obviously don't, whatever you do, mention that the global head of Nissan said 2 days ago that if we come out on WTO terms, Nissan in the UK becomes unsustainable. And if Nissan becomes unsustainable, well, you can fill in the gaps yourself. But rather than admit reality or admit the truth, there will be plenty of people pretending that this is what they wanted all along. I no longer know. I think the most powerful prediction or projection I made when there was still a semblance of normality to proceedings was that we were going to end up with either no Brexit or no deal, simply because there is no negotiable Brexit that would keep any of the people that voted for it happy. We've already seen the backtracking. We've seen this week Boris Johnson begging European Union citizens to come back here to work. I don't know why they'd possibly feel unwelcome. And then, of course, today's news about chlorinated chicken. I'll just remind you of what Michael Gove had to say about chlorinated chicken a couple of years ago.
Yes, absolutely. There's no point in having high environmental and high animal welfare standards if you then allow them to be undercut from outside. And ultimately, if you have high standards here and then you allow food in from elsewhere, you're not really contributing to animal welfare or higher environmental standards. You're simply offshoring those low standards, and that's wrong.
Government confirmed yesterday that American will be, they won't be insisting on our food standards being observed by imports. They might instead try to impose tariffs. Good luck with that if you think that the American agriculture lobby is going to allow you to put a price on food that is literally designed to be cheap and horrible. It's probably going to come as something as a shock to Theresa Villiers as well.
The manifesto is very clear, the Prime Minister is very clear. We will protect our standards. We will be using our trade negotiations to make sure that it's only food that we believe is acceptable in our markets which is allowed to come into our markets.
Well, in that case, the famous or infamous chlorine-washed chicken and hormone-injected beef, which would be illegal here,
yes,
would not be allowed to be imported. That's what you're promising.
It is illegal, yes. No, we will not be importing chlorinated chicken. We will not be importing hormone-treated beef. Both of those are illegal under EU law, which we are importing into our domestic system.
Oh, well, this should come as a shock to this Theresa Villiers as well, in rather shorter form.
It is illegal, yes. No, we will not be importing chlorinated chicken. We will not be importing hormone-treated beef.
Turns out we will. That was confirmed by the government yesterday. The same government, of course, that confirmed earlier, I think last month, that there will be border posts in Northern Ireland, something else that they swore blind would never happen. So I guess the takeaway from the Barnier thing is we can't be that surprised that Boris Johnson is trying to lie to Michel Barnier, given the scale of the lies that he's already told to the British people. So what do I think will happen? I don't know. I think there might be some sort of very flimsy free trade agreement, but if I had to put money on it, I probably would go with no deal.
People on this channel have asked me exactly the same question. What is going to happen? And hand on heart, I do not know. Boris Johnson's government is unpredictable. If you had asked me just before this pandemic, if there was a pandemic, what would the government do? I would say, well, I would assume they would try to mitigate the damage of the pandemic. They would attempt to save lives. They would support the NHS. While in reality, they lied about the pandemic, lied about PPE and the resources available to fight the pandemic, and lied about the number dead and the infected. But let's get back to Brexit. So there are a number of different ways this entire scenario could play out. Boris Johnson could ask for an extension. Now, he has a huge majority in Parliament, so if he did actually ask for an extension, there's a good chance that it would pass. Now, he could ask for an extension and bury it during a moment of bad news or good news on something unrelated to Brexit. Now, he could do as he did in Northern Ireland, actually just lie, pretend that he didn't get an extension when he did get an extension, in the same way he told the people of Northern Ireland, principally business owners and the unionist parties, that he would not put the border in the Irish Sea. And then a few days later, his government came out and said, yes, the border will be in the Irish Sea. So Boris Johnson is without scruples. Boris Johnson will not have any issue with telling a lie to the public and hoping that it doesn't come out. So this is actually a possibility. Boris Johnson could get an extension and bring it back and then lie to the public that it is actually an extension. It sounds harebrained, but look at what happened with the Northern Ireland border. Now, another possibility is that he attempts to run down the clock and then ask for an extension at the very last moment. Now, I highly doubt that the European Union will go along with this. Now, another alternative is that Boris Johnson gets a bare bones deal, something that's not a comprehensive deal, just in order to take it back, bring it before Parliament. He has his majority, it passes through Parliament without any amendments or any questioning of it, and then he has his victory. But the problem with this is business owners will quickly find out, and industry in general will find out, that their products and services are not part of that deal. There is no comprehensive deal, and they will start to see the problems of attempting to trade without a trade deal. Of course, the final one is that the UK crashes out without a deal, crashes out of the transition period without a deal. And now some senior Brexiteers are hoping that the damage inflicted upon the UK from a no deal at the end of the transition period will be somewhat hidden within the damage that's generally been done now at the moment by this pandemic. Let me know in the comments, guys, which you think is the possible scenario, or if there's another scenario that I haven't covered, I'd like to hear it. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot. Why not become a Patreon and enjoy access to our Discord server where we share news, chat, and have some fun? If you become a patron, you can also make video suggestions on topics that are important to you. Check it out via the link in the description.